Namaste. The divine in me honors the divine in you. Welcome to Cafe Stimulate. Thanks for stopping by and having coffee with me today. I have my coffee today, but I am not going to pick it up because it is full. So I'm going to take my time and sip it and, every last drop. Okay? So I do have a topic of discussion for today. I really don't know what I'm going to title it on the video, but I have a feeling that once I continue, to finish the video, that I would have a topic. But I know that I want to go forth and talk about something that I kind of pressed upon before, and we were talking about on this planet how there are different ranges of souls that are here, and we have everyone from the babies when we're talking about levels of consciousness, and we have some all the way to university. And so what I wanted to go a little bit deeper into that, because on this planet it's like this huge melting pot. And so in this melting pot of souls, we are learning how to actually interact and deal with each other. And so I said before that who I would be speaking to are souls that are probably, on that higher frequency of consciousness. And it's like, how do you know like what you're really dealing with, right? Okay. So I have to explain this. So every lifetime that you have here, you either have done some kind of, progression. If you progressed, if you've done well, and then some, if they don't, they may have digressed, or how would you ever say that, right? And so those souls are stored on frequencies. When we leave here, they are stored on those frequencies where they were able to achieve. Okay? So let's say, for instance, if a soul was stored on, I know what I want to say. There is something by, his name is it's called Sigmund. That's what I think it was, Sigmund Freud. And I was reading something long time ago about the id, the ego, and the superego. Okay? So it was saying how the id is like the primal urges in the state of being. Is like being in your, the basic instincts of things, and it is governed by the pleasure principle. And then next you have the ego, which the ego is something like, if we were to make it, a linear thing, the next up would be the ego. And so the ego is supposed to actually look over, look out for the id. And these are supposed to be the type of personalities within a person, right? And these are like the levels. And so there is also, I explained the ego. And so the ego hears to the reality principle, and where it sees the need of the id, and it says, okay, the id is like, I want what I want. And they do whatever it is to get what they want. That's the id, in everybody. And so, but the ego takes over because it understands societal norms and things, that how things will work. It understands the laws and how much everything works on the physical realm. And it says, we can get that thing that you want, but there's a way you got to go about it. And so depending on, how that ego was developed, then that's how that ego is going to help supply like the needs and the urges of the id. And then also this goes into, development, if this is developed in a person's, personality, then it's the superego. And the superego is of high morals, and it really is about doing things like the right way. And this is what's really instilled in people, throughout, time, or their connection, maybe their, morals were really instilled in them from their parents, and they're really about those higher, things as far as, how you handle things in life. And I like to see it as a more spiritual connection, like, people who have a connection with God, and so they adhere to what God, has, his ways of leading us. Okay. So let's say, for instance, and I'm just using this as an example, we're going to say all the souls that are on the frequency of id, when they die, they are stored there. Remember, those are souls that are kind of around the same frequency. And then the other souls, the superego, they're stored over here. So they're all separated. And they're separated because once you die, you have reached the point of, that's where you at. And so all the things that were actually good within you that you learned it's about you is stored away, so that when you come back, the next time, you're not totally in your spirit, like where you start, like you're starting all over again. Okay, because what the universe wants to do is wants to continue that progression. Okay, let's say a person comes from like that super ego, which is that, like a higher order. Once again, this is a melting pot of souls. Yes, there are, beings that come here that are, from higher to, because they're here to help the balance of the earth. They're, this is a training ground. Okay, so they're just not, the earth is not just going to be a bunch of the ids just running rampant around, and there is no one who's available from the superego to help instill like the order and think, it's the balance. And so since we come here, it's like we have a mild case of, amnesia. Like, you forget totally, your past life, who you are. But once you tap into the things of the spirit, then, you begin to get some of those things back. Okay. And so why is this important? Because those ones who came from a higher order, which God was letting me know, most likely that's who I will be talking to. You embody unconditional love. You embody, that sense of love and care. You are really that empathic type of being. Why? Because that's where you're from. You're from that love. And so, whereas you have those that are stored over in the id area, where, not saying that they don't have some type of love or something going on with them, but they were stored in that area, which is kind of like the id is more like an animalistic nature. Animals love each other and they take care of each other and do things or whatever, but they run off their, ingrained, instilled instincts. They do what they have to do to survive. And that's like the survival mode area. And so when they come back onto the earth, they're in that heightened sense of survival mode. And to them, whatever they go through to get to, from childhood to adulthood, they're actually instilled that super knowledge of survival. So when somebody of a higher being is like probably coming to whatever, in what age, when they're finally coming to at their age of, what, I should have boundaries, because the last time I got taken advantage of, and, I didn't like that. And I realized that's what I need to instill more of, or, I need to be more aware of my surroundings because, I'm just a little too open, with my energy. And so a person that's been in the id frequency, they'll be like, well, I already knew that. So, I already knew that, and I already knew how to move like that. I do that all the time. Maybe I'm just smart. That's what they think or whatever. But that's, that's where they're at. They're in that id, right? Whereas the higher beings, they've already had overcome that id nature. And they already surpassed also the ego. So when they come back, it's like, well, if they're so high and mighty, why do you have to come back? Well, some come back by choice to help advance, to advance as far as the collective, and to taking them into, a higher frequency, to moving towards that new earth type thing. And so, and some, there still is work, to be done. Okay. So what happens is, we are allowing ourselves to watch those, especially, that are operating out of the ego and operating out of that id, nature. And we're actually allowing them to teach us. But because they are in that survival mode, they're in that I'm in the game. And, they watch people not to be like, I'm going to care for you, or, be love and kindness. And, it's usually sometimes because they're in that manipulation, which a lot of them consider that as being intelligent because they are able to manipulate. And they're like, yeah, I got over. And this is how I use somebody to get what I want. And this is what, which is, really sad. And we have to be protective of ourselves. Yes. We're just mindful. We have to be mindful of them. And a lot of them are already kind of damaged where they are. Doesn't mean, because I'm saying damaged, don't mean that somebody can't be fixed or somebody can't be repaired in that way. I'm trying to be careful with my words because anybody can come and see the video, and I don't want to make anybody feel like they can't, heal themselves. So I don't want to talk about, them in a way that is like really degrading or anything, because on this earth, we're like brothers and sisters. But, you ever have like that one younger sibling? And I'm not talking, my actually younger sibling was really sweet. So she never did any of those things. But, I've seen it in households where you have that younger sibling that's kind of wild and kind of the one that always gets stuff stirred up and just doing things. You know what I'm saying? It's not that love is there, but also too, you just have to be in awareness of how to just move around these type of souls and these type of situations. And for higher beings, they have to learn, the game. I'll just say it like that. We have to learn that you have to be awakened to the game. When you wear your emotions on your sleeve, you really want to exude that love and be kind and, be open with people. And through our experiences, we learn that we have to become a little reserved. And that we can't be so outputting, with our energy, because the ones on the id nature, that survival, they think of people as resource, like I'm going to use my resources. You know what I'm saying? And they'll see you so willing to give, and they'll see you as a sucker. Pretty much, right? And it was like, oh, there's a sucker, and they're so free, and and higher dimensional beings usually are, and they're usually are the ones who are caught unaware, because they have that love, that compassion for others and beings, and they have an inner knowing that that's what they're supposed to do on this earth. And it's an inner knowing to raise the vibration. They know that. But since we come here and we have that amnesia thing that comes over us, that we have to, actually find that connection in God and come into our awakening of who we are. So we have to, we're being taught. That's why most of the time, like the higher dimensional beings get hit the hardest with the emotional stuff, especially in the area, with empathy. We're always getting hit the hardest by those of the id nature, because the ones of the id is trying to work towards you, trying to make you more like them. They're like, you're not supposed to be that happy. They'll say stuff like, nobody's ever that happy. Nobody. And so then they get the effing with you because they want to pull themselves out of you. But your job is to observe. And even though you're having the experience and you are feeling the experience, don't allow yourself to become it. So you're dealing with these different type of frequencies, these energies. Never allow yourself to what people call, I need to do a video on that, matching energies. We don't match energies, okay? Like, we may move different, but we don't match no energies, because you have done so much progress to be trying to go back, No, we don't do that. And so their attack on you is about them trying to prove to themselves that you are like them. You operate from that id nature, and you're that animalistic, and something what I like to call, that mark of the beast. The people who want to stay in that id type nature, that beastly animal-like nature, and how they move around the earth and how they do people, and it's really about being selfish and doing only for themselves. And you notice in the animal kingdom, they are separate. You know what I'm saying? And so, but the beings who are supposed to be from a higher order, we understand that we're supposed to be moving towards oneness. And we are not of the animal kingdom. We are higher than the animal kingdom. So as human beings, we shouldn't be acting like the animals. You know, they're separated by their species and they stay in their little corners and they stay in their little groups and things like that. That's wonderful. That's how that nature works. But we are of a higher spiritual nature, and we should be beings who are able to work with each other as intelligent beings. It doesn't matter what color we are, you know, it doesn't matter what, you know, area of the world you come from. You are a being, and if you are a spiritual being, you know, we are able to connect. We are the ones, we are the ones who have put these filters on that causes the divide. And no matter what or whatever, what type of filter that you put over your eyes and how you see the world through that filter, that's how, you know, all this division and is actually what keeps us separated. But when as you go higher, you know, in consciousness, God actually peels off those layers. We peel off, you know, all the different religions and, you know, all the different kinds of spirituality, because just as many religions they have, you know, they have that many different forms of spirituality. And who am I? I'm actually, you know, even though I am involved in like different spiritual texts, I only extract what is spiritual. And so things like the Bible's foundation comes from a spiritual people. But it was taken, the artifacts and the information was taken and put in a way that, you know, in a book. And so now, you know, and they slapped a religion on it. Okay. And so as a spiritual being, in order for you to be free, you're really not supposed to conform to any of these things of the world, because we are free beings, right? It's okay for us to gather wisdom and, you know, teachings, you know, but you always run it back through God to see if that's something that is actually from the highest order. Okay? So it's not the fact that I accept everything, you know, it's just, I read things and I also examine things, and I always run it back through, you know, God. But also I know that everything, you know, on this earth, because we are learning, are tools. And I see things now as, you know, tools for us to use, not for us to use, you know, to separate us. But I see things as things that we should use to bring us more together, and we need to find the things that we all share. You know, we all share that spiritual beings, the number one thing is that we love God first. And we put, you know, him first in a way that it's like, you know, doing the right thing is the first and foremost thing, because, you know, we don't ever want to disappoint, you know, the one we love. When it comes to dealing with people, we know that people can be very difficult at times, but me personally, I don't ever want to leave somebody in a worse state of being than they are. Because if they're already doing bad, you know what I'm saying? Then me moving forth, I'm not going to do anything to make that state, any more worse, because they already, that's where they have to build off of or build upon. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there are a lot of people out there that give a lot of, information and things like that. And if you want to call it, wisdom or something, but they do it in a way where actually the person who receives it, it's kind of hard for them to kind of like get over it. You know what I'm saying? And to actually see how they're supposed to use this in a way that they can actually grow from it. Okay, and that may sound crazy. Let me use something as an example, right? Have you ever seen the movie 5 Heartbeats?
Where you been? Coming back here this late?
I told you he had a show tonight. How'd it go?
He ain't gonna be shit neither.
He didn't say nothing.
You ain't gotta say nothing. You ain't gonna be shit, 'cause I ain't shit.
The father saw how talented his son was, and how much further that his son was able to go than him. And he said, you acting just like me, and you ain't gonna never be ish. And that stuck in his soul, that type of thing came from his father, that you're just like me and you'll never be ish. You know what I'm saying? And that really, pierced him in his heart. But then you see at the other end of the movie, the mother was talking to the father. She was like, why you talk to him like that? Why you do that? And his father said, oh, it's making me cry. He said, I just want him to be better than me. So we just have to be careful, in this world, how we are placing things on people's souls. Everybody wants to be the one. I deliver the harsh truth and this and this and that. And let's be really honest about where that comes from. A lot of that is a lot of it is not necessary to instill that into people like that. You can give people the truth in a way, because it's seeds, and how you plant that seed, and how somebody wants to take it and receive it. At the time, he needed to hear that he was proud of him, so some people are in need of that type of encouragement. Okay, so somewhere I had got off, but I'm going to get back on. As you start to grow and learn more about this world, you're going to come into, the different frequencies and things that you are facing. And to them, it seems like, oh, that's so, like you haven't matured or something, or like you're slow or stupid or something like that. It seems that way to them because you're not that hip to the game. But they don't understand the reason why, you're not really hip to the game, because your frequency, your spirit has really outgrown that area or that type of being. They're still on that ish. You're not. But you had to encounter them in order for you to an extent get hip to the BS of what goes on in this world, so that you can learn how to defend yourself, from how they do. Now they may be like, well, like I said, I already knew that, I already know how to move. I know how to treat people. And when people do this to me, and they're usually understand this. They're usually the people, they're always revengeful. They always got to get back. You, as a spiritual being, you ain't never had that get back in you, because I'm not going to say lazy or whatever, but when it comes to your energy, you just don't have the time. You're just like, I really don't have time. Or you get over things because, you really don't want to be in that type of energy anyway. And so releasing to you feels good. As far as people who deal in the id, they don't ever want to release anything. It's almost like they're tied to what I said is, the root of all suffering is attachment. And because they're in survival mode, they stay attached to everything. They stay attached to every emotion. They stay attached to every beef that ever was. They stay attached to it's part of their id nature. While as you move along as a higher spiritual being, you disconnect from things that no longer serve you in a way. Sometimes I say that, sometimes I don't like saying that, because it's not always about something that serves you. You know what I'm saying? We do a lot of things and we offer a lot of things to humanity without looking for anything back in return. Okay? We do it because it's part of our frequency. It's who we are. A lot of things and how we operate and move is just out of love, out of compassion. And that's how we move. It's not always about this has to serve me in some kind of way, shape, form, or fashion. We don't move like that. And when it comes to those who operate out of that nature, to them, everything has to serve them. And so all I'm saying is, when you're interacting with them, just be observant and have the understanding that you are evolving, you are growing, and whatever that they are doing over there, or what's happening, or what's going, however they're trying to, push their little agenda into your life somehow, the ones that usually try to keep up a narrative of some sort, because higher beings, we're not interested in trying to keep a narrative or to put forth the narrative. We just be, we just live. It is what it is. Those are the id nature. It's important for them to keep up, and put forth a narrative to keep, the illusion going, to the illusion trying to cover up that they are of that id nature, trying to cover up that they are in those instinctual animal-like way of being. We just be. We're not trying to make people see us in another way that we're not. We're not interested in trying to, spin whatever happened. It probably did happen, and I'm going to go on. I'm going to live my life. And it's kind of like just how, we are and how we move. And so don't feel like just because you came to the knowledge of something, a little late in the game, that, it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. The very fact that it came to you is just an indication that you are evolving and that you are growing. Okay? So I think I'm going to end it there. I wanted to say thanks for stopping by and having coffee with me today. The divine in me honors the divine in you. And Ashe, and have a wonderful day. Thanks for stopping in. If you would like to contact me, email me at cafestimulate@outlook.com. Thanks again. Bye.